So let's get down and dirty on the streets of Brooklyn with Steven Seagal as he hunts for a killer and Out for Justice. Brooklyn-born and raised cop Gino Felino is one of the best and knows and loves this neighborhood like no one else. However, when his boyhood adversary and criminal scum Richie murders Gino's friend Detective Bobby Lupo in cold blood, the fiercely dedicated cop must take matters into his own hands to bring down this mad dog killer. As Richie's reign of violence tears through Brooklyn, Gino butts heads with every low-life piece of trash, mafioso, and member of Richie's family to bring order and justice back to his neighborhood. Now everyone will be caught in the wake of their brutal conflict, with no mercy and no prisoners taken. So April 12th, 1991 saw the release of Steven Seagal's fourth starring action vehicle in Out for Justice, which was directed by John Flynn and produced on a budget of $14 million, and also garnered a lot of negative reviews when it was released, but still debuted at number 1 at the box office, garnering a $39.6 million total box office take, which was notably less than his previous two films, with Hard to Kill garnering $48 million and Marked for Death garnering $58 million at the box office. But still, I'm sure Warner Bros. Was quite pleased with the full box office takings of Out for Justice regardless of that. And it's very interesting that there were a number of difficulties behind the scenes of this film, and director John Flynn, he apparently had a good time working with William Forsythe and a number of other people on the film, but supposedly not so much Seagal, claiming that Seagal had been late for a number of different shoots and caused a lot of delays with the film. And in post-production there were a number of excised scenes and very much different things going on with the cut of the film, with Seagal supposedly believing that William Forsythe, with his performance in the film, was really possibly upstaging him in a certain way, so he wanted a couple scenes cut out of the film. And also Warner Brothers brought in editor Michael Elliott to do further edits to the film to excise scenes and do various other things, which ultimately results in a number of montage sequences making up a lot of the cut footage and splicing it together to have as much of a connective tissue in the film as possible. But unlike a number of other films where you would hear a lot of this type of stuff going on, Out for Justice does not come off as a film that seems like it has been tampered with in any type of way or feels a detriment to any kind of things that might have been going on behind the scenes of the film. It still comes together as a very good film here that, if you talk to many Seagal fans, it is very much neck and neck between Out for Justice and Marked for Death as their favorite films of his filmography, possibly also including Under Siege for other people who like a little bit more of a humorous, lighthearted tone with their action films and whatnot. But for the dark and gritty type of stuff, it is definitely neck and neck between Out for Justice and Marked for Death. And Marked for Death is definitely my favorite Seagal film because of so much of the different qualities that it has as a much more energetic and very much a dark and gritty type of action film. But Out for Justice is a very different, slightly different type of film here, that it is very much dealing with a lot more of a dramatic type of storyline here instead of having a lot of action in the film to drive the pace of the film forward. It very much has the character of Gino going on a very investigative type of thing in this film, that he is hunting down Richie throughout the entire film and really just going on along about a lot of dramatic scenes, that it is very much a thing to watch this film and realize at one certain point in time Steven Seagal could really put forth a lot of passion and a lot of damn effort into being an actor, and I absolutely believe that this is the best performance Steven Seagal has ever put forth, and you can see it with everything that's put into the screenplay of this film, how the film was directed, and definitely just everything that Seagal really just genuinely put into this role to really have so many scenes rest so strongly on his own charisma and his own way to convey a compassion and a heart with his character, along with a very fierce and intense quality with the character of Gino here, that Seagal puts on a very solid and impressive performance that you kind of think of Seagal now and he kind of becomes a bit of a not terribly credible type of action star anymore after he's kind of had so many strings of direct-to-video films where he obviously just doesn't care that much about what he's really putting out there. But you go back and look at the stuff he did in his prime, and this is the absolute peak of his quality in his prime to do something that is a little less action-oriented, a little bit more dramatic in certain places, that you definitely see so many scenes in this film where the character of Gino is just relaying all these stories about the history that he has with all these characters and is in this neighborhood, all these things that he just pours himself out. You see the heart of this character. You see so much of a fondness that this character has for the years gone by and all the people that he's loved and known and had relationships with. Even the character of Richie or Bobby in this whole thing, he just connects so much on that level for the audience to really kind of get a depth with this character overall and really understand what it all means to him to have Richie just come out and murder one of his friends, someone he grew up with, and just having this great splinter between these characters who all grew up together, and just have this great sense of depth and history explored between all these characters through Seagal's performance in this film. Just, he brings out so many great qualities in this character that just shows a great dynamic range here that is very interesting to talk about Seagal in that type of way, because you don't ever think of Seagal as that versatile of an actor, because a lot of the characters he plays in films are pretty much very, very similar types of characters, but the material in the screenplay here, and obviously John Flynn's direction as well, just brings so much more out of Seagal here that shows that he had a lot of potential. When he really was putting forth a genuine effort, he can create a very good, well-rounded, dimensional character that you can absolutely connect with, but is also such a strong, conviction-heavy type of character that he brings so much intensity, so much fierceness into this character here throughout the entire story. This is just a character that has that hard edge, that just smash-mouth type of quality that is a bit of a hyper-reality in a certain way. It's just very interesting early on when Gino's seen what's going down here with Richie and everything, and he just tells his captain, portrayed by the fabulous Jerry Orbach in the film, just give me an unmarked squad car and a shotgun and I'll go take care of this whole thing tonight. So it's like, it's a little bit of a hyper-reality in that type of way that by no means is that any bit realistic, but you put this character in this situation and you just have so many great things come out of Seagal's performance here that just brings so many different qualities to the surface of it, between the absolute action-oriented guy and the very heartfelt family man, and so many different qualities throughout this entire film. This film rests so strongly, heavily on Seagal's ability to bring all these fantastic qualities out with so much charisma and so much fun wit as well, that Seagal could really just bring out the humor and just the great moments of just like absolute levity and cleverness with his performances. He just brought out so many things that are just like, it made him the action star that he was. They bring out so much of that wit and just bring out so many fun qualities that just connects you on the character so deeply, and just enjoy watching Seagal in this film so deeply much with every way he stretches his abilities, every single place he does it. So far from one extreme to the next, from the tense, action-oriented guy to the much more compassionate type of individual that just has so many qualities about him, so much of a conflict within his character as things go along between the different people, such as like Richie's father and everything, when he's confronting him and talking about how he has to take down his son. But there's so many great scenes like that in the film that just shows he has so much to offer here, and just is absolutely, because of the material available here, Seagal is able to step up and make such a great performance here as an action star. He just shows that this is the best performance I believe he has ever put forth, because of the dynamic range of what he had to put into this character. But obviously the main villain of the whole film is William Forsythe here, as an absolute psychotic, rabid, mad dog here. Forsythe is just a force of nature in this film that just absolutely barrels through and just is a terribly scary individual. This guy is just jacked up on crack the whole film and just completely whacked out of his mind. hair trigger type of stuff throughout the entire film, just offering people at the slightest whim of anything, just get on his bad side for just a second. The guy just throws a bullet right into your skull, and just William Forsythe is just a mad dog juggernaut in this movie. You needed to have a character like this and an actor that can just go full bore into that mindset, that psychosis of the character, that just showed that this guy is, to understand what it is that Gino has to do in this film, this guy is the completely unleashed menace on the streets of Brooklyn. He absolutely has to be taken down no matter what. There is no reasoning with this guy. There's no way this guy is just going to walk into a police station and give himself up. He has to be put down. And it's just a great thing seeing Forsythe just goes so much into this thing and just being so hardcore with this character. But it is a character that does come off as fairly one-dimensional, that is the only quality you get from his performance as it's presented here, that perhaps maybe if some of those supposed scenes are cut out about his character, may have given a little bit more of a fleshed out dynamic and dimensionality here, but I don't expect the character to become a very emotional, introspective type of individual, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more with this character, to just have him stretch out just a tad bit more and have a bit more of that two-way connection between Gino and Richie in the film. But the fact of the matter is, it's still a fantastic performance that Forsythe puts forth. That it is a fantastic villain that actually has that core of emotional impact upon the entire landscape of Brooklyn in this film here. And of course, like I said, we have a fantastic Jerry Orbach in this film, just adding that sense of legitimacy to the film. Just, you see him in the film, and just brings a certain grounded quality to all this absolute madness and mayhem that's unfolding throughout the entire film here. You just see Jerry Orbach, as you've seen him in so many things, especially in all these years we saw him on Law & Order and various other things as well. He just has that quality that just bring that humanized type of quality, that grounded sensibility to the project, to just give it a little bit of an anchor here and there. That he only has a few scenes of the film, but the moments he gets really just adds something a little bit extra special to the film. And it's just absolutely fabulous seeing Jerry Orbach playing opposite Steven Seagal here for a few little moments, but just like, it's great seeing him, and just, he is so much of a New York type of actor that was just fabulous to see what he could add into the flavor of this film overall. And we also got great little performance here from Gina Gershon as Richie's sister. She brings such a great tough attitude to this role that it's just great for the few scenes, again, that you get with this character. She just adds, again, another flavor, a depth and dimension to certain things. Just seeing her play off of Seagal as well, just, it's a great dynamic that every single character and actor really has with so much of this cast here. It is an excellently put together cast with actors who put forth a great effort overall. There's just so much of a great handling of the depth of the emotion in this film to really get the resonance of what all this stuff is going on with. And it's a really interesting thing that you see this film, and it's really taking place over a very short span of time. It starts out in the day and everything concludes during the nighttime sequences, so it's like the compression of time of the film adds both an intimacy with the personal conflicts and everything, and also the urgency of the entire situation, that I don't think it would have had as much of that quality if it was stretched out over like 3 or 4 days. You get it condensed in a number of hours here to see all these scenes just kind of get worked through with the characters and explored overall. I think that really just helps the storyline and the characters' development overall in this film to really just make it a very interesting and very urgent type of storyline that just really well handled by John Flynn, regardless of any type of post-production, editing, tinkering that was done by the studio or whomever. It still comes together as a very solid type of film with a very good screenplay that just has dimension to its characters, that you can feel and connect with these people as very genuine type of individuals, that just adds so much to the film overall. And it's also interesting to note that Out for Justice originally garnered a rating of NC-17 for how absolutely brutal this film was, and they had to cut it down enough to get that R rating. But there is still so much of an unrelenting violence in this film that it just pulls absolutely no punches. There is gore, there is blood, there's just some absolutely visceral type of action throughout this entire film that just delves you into the grit of this storyline, that urban type of grittiness that you absolutely need for something like this to just get that feeling overall, that just raw type of emotion and raw type of feel from all the action that just goes all the way forward with that. I just love how this film unfolds all of its action, even from early on when you get the shooting of Bobby Lupo by Richie. It's just absolutely blunt force type of trauma. And then you get some great chase sequences in this film that just absolutely just have that hard edge to them that just gets you right into that quality of the film overall. It just tells you this is definitely a hard R rated film that's just going to the guttural type of quality that this storyline really requires to get the full impact and, like I said, resonance that this storyline is really going for, to really just go all into that and dig something so very visceral out from the depths of it. But Out for Justice is known for probably having the most quintessential Steven Seagal scene in his entire filmography, when he gets into that bar scene and just starts smacking dudes around. It is one of the best scenes he's ever done, because he is just absolutely on the top of his game in terms of the charisma that he's putting on, possibly even doing some improv. It just seems very much loose and off the cuff of what he's putting on the scene, just moving through this whole scene, owning the whole damn thing, running over every single person, every actor in the whole scene. He's just owning every moment of this whole thing. And then everyone starts to try and get him, trying to pile on him, trying to take him out here because he's talking so much trash, pushing dudes around and everything, and he just smacks the crap out of everyone. Like when he wraps that cue ball up in the towel and everything, it just smacks the guy in the mouth and it spits teeth out all over the place. And then Gino starts smacking guys over the freaking skull with the damn thing. This is intense, hard-edge type of stuff, and just absolutely what you want from a Seagal film, when you've always seen him go in these films where it's breaking guys' arms and breaking limbs and doing all this stuff. This is just hard-edge Seagal at his absolute finest. You even got the moment where the guy comes up with the sticks, who's actually a guy who trained with Bruce Lee, and you see him just smacking back and forth with these pool cues and everything, with Seagal and the whole thing. It's just great moments like that that just adds more to the sequence, adds more to that hard-edge action type of thing, while still having great moments of comedy in the whole thing, like he keeps pushing the guy in the phone booth in the corner of the bar over and over again. Just great moments in this whole sequence where just Seagal is absolutely on fire with his charisma on the absolute maximum levels that he possibly can give it. He is absolutely so much on the top game of this whole sequence that is by no means could ever be matched by any other thing in any other film he's ever done. It's just his quintessential moment in his career that if you want to know what Seagal is all about, what he was about in his prime, you just look up this scene and watch it, and just as if you're not sold on what Seagal can deliver, I don't know what else possibly could, because this is absolutely everything compacted and condensed perfectly in one scene about what Steven Seagal could bring as an action film lead, to just have the charisma that he has and just everything else that he brings with the martial arts skills and just the hard edge action that just absolutely identified what a Steven Seagal film was back in this moment in time. And like I said, I really like the job that they did in this film, actually fleshing out the neighborhood and the history of this whole thing in Brooklyn, with all these characters just creating an interconnected web of each one of these characters having a history with each other. Gino having a history with the mafia and everything, that you see there is a very strong respect between those two parties in the film, that the mafia is very careful not to step on Gino's toes or just feel like they're demanding something of him because they know he could easily turn against them, and they don't want that from one of the most fierce police officers in Brooklyn. And just like so many different things in the film that you just see the depth of history with all the characters, especially with the other members of Richie's family with Gino, that just brings out so many different things that just deepens the impact, as I said, about the story overall. And in addition to the quality of John Flynn's direction, you also get some very good cinematography in this film by director of photography Rick Waite, who I previously mentioned in my review of Cobra, which stars Sylvester Stallone, and I thought the cinematography of that film was absolutely superb. This time, Out for Justice has a decidedly different type of look to it, adding a much more grounded, gritty quality to it that maintains integrity of weight to all its visuals, just holds that frame very strongly. You just continue to have that maintained quality of grittiness to the whole film that just holds up very strongly with some very subdued lighting in certain places and shooting a lot of the nighttime scenes very, very well. I think the look of this film has a great little bit of an atmosphere to it as well, but still, again, maintains a very realistic look to it. Not going for an overly stylized visual, just keeping it very much in that realm of something that you can really identify as fairly realistic. And I thought the music by David Michael Frank was also fairly minimal, but still very effective. That it does employ some synthesizers and rock type of music here and there, but it still maintains a very heavy and very hard edge quality to it. The few moments that really kicks in, it really adds a much more foreboding, ominous feel to many different moments in the film, just chiming in where it's necessary, but also adding a bit of a light-hearted kind of groove to it as well in certain moments when you get some of the montage sequences or stuff like that in the film. It just adds a bit more of a vibe, a little bit more of an energy to the film. So David Michael Frank put together a very good score for this film. And getting to the climax of this film, the payoff of everything that's built up to this point, with all the action and the drama that's kind of built up with Gino and this whole thing, and the absolute chaos that Richie has absolutely wreaked upon Brooklyn at this point, comes to a very interesting type of head here that it is very solid with all the action that it has to go forward with. Some just stuff that just does not even pull any punches again, just goes even further and just does some great things overall that just ups the ante of just the visceral impact of just the hard-edged action this film has to offer. But when we get into the conflict, finally, of Gino versus Richie, it seems a little too one-sided. It doesn't feel like it has the emotional punch at the end of the whole thing that I really, really would like it to have, because obviously the character of Richie really isn't a physical match for someone who's very much a highly trained martial artist that can just smack the crap out of anyone who really wants to. So it's like when they get into the much more physical combat in the film, it just doesn't quite have as much of a fever pitch type of conflict that I really would have liked the end of the film to really have. So it does have some very good, admirable qualities to the climax of the film, but I really would have liked, because you have so much going on with Gino emotionally in the film, delving into his history, reflecting a lot of this stuff, and getting that conflict going on within him, and just would have liked to have a little bit more of that emotional impact between these characters and feel like there is much more of that conflict, that searing type of quality behind just the rage, that there is sort of that lost friendship. It really just kind of goes right for the gritty type of exceedingly violent quality in the film. But regardless of that, it is still a very good climax for your action people. You really want to get something that is very strong action, a very good, exceedingly violent climax of the film. It definitely pays off in that type of way. And regardless of any of that type of shortfall that I feel the film kind of has there, Out for Justice is still one of Seagal's best films he ever made. And like I said earlier, a lot of Seagal fans would definitely be very high on this film on their list of the best/favorites they would have for Seagal. So it's like, it is definitely worthwhile. If you've never seen Out for Justice, it definitely deserves to be watched. If you enjoy action films, you definitely enjoy any bit of Seagal's filmography, this is definitely one that definitely goes for that darker, grittier type of edge instead of a little bit more lighter fare. Like Under Siege, there's a bit more comedy, a bit more humor in that film. If you want something that's a little bit more of a thriller, a little bit harder and whatnot, this is definitely one of those films to go for that just goes right into that type of realm and definitely brings out, like I said, an emotional depth with the story and characters overall. So I thought This was a very well-rounded type of film that definitely goes and delivers on a lot of different levels, and certainly can surprise you in certain places with Seagal's performance. But like I said, it is probably his best performance that he's ever put forth, and it definitely shows this was prior to when his ego really started to overrun things, and he started doing a lot of vanity projects like On Deadly Ground or Fire Down Below, where the quality of the film suffered. This is definitely when he was in the right frame of mind, with the right amount of savvy, the right amount of screen presence and charisma, and just respect for the project in general, to really bring everything he had forward into the film and just share the screen with a lot of good actors as well, in most part. But the fact of the matter is, one of the best Seagal films is Out for Justice, so you should definitely check it out if you're very much game for that type of action film overall. So, saying all that, what is your favorite Seagal film? So, definitely enjoy getting your comments below about Seagal in general, whether it's the good or the bad of his filmography. Definitely feel free to discuss that here in the comments below, because like I said, the direct-to-video type of stuff, from what I've heard, never had a chance, never desired to delve into those very unsavory waters or whatnot, but word is, they're really bad movies. So he's had some fantastic movies, but has a long string of very poor type of work. So discuss it below. Thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed what you saw here, and the spreading the links around the social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, everything else. Definitely enjoy that, and hit the description below to hook up with me through RavensFilm Productions on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and Instagram and stuff like that. So we can get all connected, keep up with everything else I'm developing as things go forward, because got an itch to do something very special that should be coming up fairly soon. Just teasing it here and there, but it is going to be something special and unexpected that I just felt like I really wanted to do something very different at this point in time in the year. So definitely keep a lookout for something after this shortly that should please and surprise most of you guys. So thanks again for watching, guys. Definitely enjoy Seagal. Comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. So take care. Bye bye.